morning, everybody. Thank you for joining our podcast this morning. My name is Vicky Rine, and we're going to explore a couple things this morning. I thought about some of the questions that I get most often, and one of the ones that I get most often is, how do I make my child behave? So I wanted to look at behavior and explore not just how to make your child behave, but looking at your own behaviors and seeing if in some way that they can contribute to your child's misbehavior. But let's look at what misbehavior is. Is it truly misbehavior, or is there just some things that are mistaken behavior that they genuinely didn't know that it was wrong? For example, new situations. When we take children to a funeral for the first time, they don't understand the hush tones, and they don't understand the relatives crying or whatever the case might be. They have no basis of information. They just don't understand what's going on. So you might get some behavior. You might get some acting out, or them saying they're bored, or kicking their feet, or kicking the pew in front of you, or whatever the case. That's really not misbehavior. It's just completely mistaken behavior. They don't get it. They don't understand. So a lot of times when we throw our children into these new situations, we're going to get different behavior. And if you react in a way that's negative, then what you're going to find is that you're getting more negative behavior. Our minds, our brains, they're hardwired to really put more importance on negative aspects than positive aspects. What does that mean? We kind of look for the negative instead of the positive. So it works with us with parents too. We look for kids' negative behavior, and then we attempt to fix it. There's a real danger in that. I don't mean that you shouldn't look at behavior and modify it. Absolutely. Kids need to learn how to behave. Absolutely. But sometimes we can give kids the message that they're bad, or that they are just this great disappointment to us, or what's even worse, that somehow they're broken. And when we think of broken, we think, if we're a kid, as something that's irreparable. Now, I say that because that was my experience as a child. My parents really did not purposefully set out to go, I'm going to give her the message that she's broken. But I would get messages frequently from them. And it was messages, why can't you be more like your sister? Why can't you behave? You're not listening. Why don't you do this? Good little girls do that, that type of thing. And over time, there's just this layering system. And what that does is that produces somebody that just figures they're broken. And if you figure you're broken, you don't have any reason to improve, because you can't fix it. And that's what kids come at a lot of times. I don't want that to happen to your kiddo. So what we have to do as parents is really explore our own behavior in this. And really look, is there a way that I could approach this misbehavior in a different way? Is it misbehavior? Is it mistaken behavior? Do children purposefully misbehave? Absolutely. They absolutely do. But sometimes they don't. So helping y'all to realize that your reaction and not your response to their situation is one that we need to look at and investigate a little further. Okay? So we're not looking for the bad all the time. Most parents want all kinds of wonderful things for their kiddos. They look at their little juniors or their little juniorettes, and they imagine how wonderful their life is going to be. They imagine that their child isn't going to have some of the same experiences as they did. They look at their child and they go, my kid will be different. I will be able to invest all this time and energy in them, and I am going to make and create this wonderful child. And then they give you some behavior that just makes you crazy. Now, for me, there's certain behaviors that make me crazy too. That whining that they do. Or what about a teenager's rolling their eyes? Or sass, just sassing you back. Or sarcasm, that kind of thing as they get older delivered. Or just not listening. You're like, am I speaking out loud? Sometimes I still think that. I think, did I say that out loud, or is it just in my head, or what? Because I'm not getting the reaction that I think my words should elicit from somebody. So we look at that and go, my kiddo's not going to be like that. And then we find out, they're normal, and they are like that. So we then react, and we react in a strong way and in a negative way. And even worse, we look at our kid and think, they're going to be fill in the blank. I want you to look at your little kiddo, and I want you to realize that that person standing in front of you, whether they are a mischievous little toddler, whether they are an active school-age child, or whether they're a surly teenager, or even for those of us that have adult children, even if you go, oh my gosh, this adult behavior is driving me crazy. I want you to look at that, and I want you to realize that that person standing in front of you is not who they're going to be. It's just you're witnessing a snapshot of the time period that they're in. Our job is to help them navigate. We can't help them navigate their path unless we look at our own behavior and we react and respond to them in a different way than what we're doing. If it doesn't work, stop. Stop it. If nagging doesn't work, stop. It's not working anymore. I think of a toolbox, and I often use this in my classes when I talk about the fact that all of us as parents were given an invisible toolbox from our parents. As soon as we had our first kid, somebody handed us that invisible toolbox. And inside that toolbox is all the tools that our parents used with us. And all the tools that their parents used on them, and so on and so forth. So we look at that toolbox and we pull things out because that toolbox is familiar. So we pull the things out of it. The nagging, the shaming, the blaming. If you ever heard parents say, if you kids wouldn't act like that, I wouldn't have to do this, right? That's what I mean by the blaming. So whether that tool works or not, we're still bringing it out. Now I'm going to share with you an example that I went through with my husband one day. He was doing something and he asked me, would you go get me a level, please? And I said, sure, I know what a level is. And I went to his toolbox, one by the way of many. But I pulled out his level and I brought it to him. And he said to me this, oh, no, not that one. That toolbox, that level's broken. Now, you know how in relationships you have one person that's usually the purger that throws things away, and the other one that kind of hoards and hangs on to stuff? I'm the purger. He's the hoarder. So he looked at me with absolute terror on his face, and he said, don't throw it away. Don't throw it away. And I said, but it doesn't work anymore. Why are you keeping it? And he said this to me. He said, my uncle gave me that. That is the first level I ever used. And I said, I thought reasonably, but it's broken and it doesn't work. And he said, no, don't throw it away. And it made me think of us as parents. even when stuff doesn't work, we stick it back in that toolbox just in case one day it might. Do you remember when you drop your kiddo off at daycare or at somebody else's house and you go to pick them up and they would drag their feet? They were playing, they were not ready to go home, and you might have said something like, "Okay, that's fine. I'm leaving. Bye." And you wave the whole hand and do all that. And that child runs, "No, no, no, don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me." Right? You remember that? Well, guess what? That won't always work. But yet we keep it in our toolbox and we keep bringing it up. I had a father that did that, and he and I just ended up laughing because it was at a daycare center and I was getting set up for a class, and he brought his 2- and 4-year-old in because it was the 4-year-old's classroom, and the 4-year-old had forgotten his jacket. So they came in at the end of the day to pick it up. Well, the 2-year-old saw a whole bunch of new toys, and he started running and pulling things out. So the 4-year-old, not wanting to lose out on any opportunity to play, started the same thing. And Dad's over there going, "Come on, boys, let's go. Boys, let's go. Boys, I said let's go. Boys, come on, let's go." And he kept doing that. And then he finally said, "Fine, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave y'all here and y'all can just sleep here tonight." And I loved it. The 4-year-old turned and went, "Bye, Dad." And the 2-year-old went, "Bye, Daddy." And he looked at me and he went, "Oh, that doesn't work anymore, does it?" And I said, "Doesn't look like it." So we use that. So look at what tools you're using. Look at how you're responding and how you're reacting to them. And understand this. We all want, like I said earlier, wonderful things for our kids. None of us would say, "I want my kid to live under a bridge and be homeless." None of us would say, "With any luck, my kid will be addicted to heroin." None of us would say, "Oh, I'd love my child to have 5 different babies with 5 different people." But yet, here's the thing. Are there homeless people? Yes. Are there people that are addicted? Absolutely. And are there people that do have 5 different kids from 5 different people? Sure. But you don't want that to happen to yours. So wanting it is not enough. Navigating their path with them, walking their path with them, helping them understand their path, empowering them, giving them the tools, is going to lead them one day to wanting nothing but good stuff as well for them. So when we get negative with them, we forget that they're going to focus on that. And because they're focusing on that, guess what the studies show? Studies show that negative things will influence their path more so than positive. And I know none of you out there want that. So, here's what I want y'all to do. Think this week about the ways that you are reacting to your child's behavior. And even if it's only one time, I want you to really stop and think, how can I turn my behavior around? How can I, and what can I do behavioral-wise to get what I need to get out of this kiddo? Just one time. I'm not even asking. I'm not even asking you for a lot of times. Just once, and make note of it, and then make note of your child's reaction. Because here's the thing that I do know: if you focus on the positive of your child, positive behavior, you're going to get that more often than you're going to get the negative behavior. So I challenge y'all, each and every one of you, to try that. See how that works. Get back with me. Let me know. And then next week, I want y'all to come back, and we're going to talk about the issue of one parent kind of undermining the other parent. What do I do when I can't get him on board? Or what do I do when she won't listen to anything I have to say? We're going to explore that next week. So until then, y'all have a good week and work on it. Work on being positive. Until then, I'll see y'all. Thanks. Bye.